Hello and welcome to the What the What podcast. It's the podcast where we tell you what's nerdy, what's popping with culture, what's given us all the nostalgic feels, and what's there to geek out about, past, present, and future. It's all the what's in one place. That's Eric Creech. Kyle Whitley's on paternity leave, and I'm Ashby Brame.
What's up, y'all?
Woo!
Welcome to our podcast. We're recording on a Saturday, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, we are.
We're going to try to knock out a bunch of episodes today, so it's going to be really awesome. Kyle, as Ashby mentioned, is not with us. He's going to take a... We kind of had a little heart-to-heart with Kyle last week, because Kyle has a lot going on. He moved into his new house last week, and he's still working on that process. He and his wife are expecting a baby in 2 weeks, and that's... I've never had a baby. You've never had a baby. We don't know what that we know of. But I imagine that's going to be like very time consuming, from what I understand. And our argument is, hey, Kyle, you've known us for how long? And you've known that baby what?
20 years.
Yeah, you've known that baby for what? A few months, and it's not even born yet. And
exactly.
But whatever, Kyle.
Exactly.
It's fine. No. Seriously, we did tell him, go be with your family. Go take care of your family stuff. The podcast, we hope, will still be here when you get back. It depends on how much we run this thing off the rails.
Yeah, exactly.
But
our hand of God, it might still be here.
But Kyle will be back with us in a few weeks, hopefully, after things settle down and he gets some time, maybe. But until then, me and Ash, we're going to hold down the fort. We're going to have a couple of guest hosts over the, over the course of the next few weeks. Hunter Batten will be joining us in a few weeks. So we'll hold the fort down. We'll get him, go ahead and keep his seat warm. I'm actually using his microphone. Don't tell him. He's very, very careful about his stuff, so don't tell him. But yeah, be our little secret there. But
no one will ever know.
No one will ever know, exactly. But Kyle will be joining us again. If you do see Kyle, make sure you just wish him a congratulations on the social media channels. And we do miss him, but he will be back sooner rather than later, we hope.
Yes, and I'm sure that we will share with the podcast community when Baby Sky arrives.
When Baby Sky is here, we're going to be hyping it up.
That's right.
What? So it's going to be really awesome. We're aunts and uncles.
Yes.
And for those of you, y'all can't see
aunts
me.
And uncles.
I pointed to myself when I said aunts. Yeah. I pointed to Ashby when I said uncle.
100.
So that's how that works. That's science. So don't ignore the science, folks. All right. But we want to thank you, the listener, for joining us today. And while we're at it, please subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, or wherever it is you get your podcast. Of course, rate and review us. 5 stars. 5 stars only. I don't care if you hate us or if you love us, or if you love us but everyone else hates us, or vice versa. A 5-star review would be really, really nice. I know we had a lot of new followers on the Facebook page this week. But if you want to follow us on our social media channels, like all of our new followers, search for us. What the What Media. That's all one word. What the What Media. And we are on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube under that. We're also on Twitter at WTW_media. Please share this with your friends. Now, last week on the podcast, we discussed one of Ashby's favorite movies.
Yes, we did.
Twister.
It was delightful.
1996 classic Twister. On today's episode, we are taking a deep dive into, here's how we have it titled. We have it titled The Movies that everyone loves but you hate, or the movies that you hate that everyone loves.
Yeah.
And I think hate is a little bit of a strong word, and we can get into a minute, but that's the topic today. Movies that you just don't get that everyone else is like, hey, you gotta see this. Here's your spoiler warning. We will be talking about 6 different movies between the two of us. And we may be discussing events that happens in those movies. So if you are listening and you get to a part where we mention a movie that you haven't seen yet and you want to see it because maybe it's one of those movies that everyone's hyping up and you don't want to be disappointed, be prepared to fast forward a little bit through that section. We will maybe not be spoiling the entire thing, but we will be taking into account some of the events that may happen in those movies, possibly. But yeah, so with that said, let's jump into our topic. So, as we were talking about off air, I had some trouble with this list because if it's a movie that I'm not interested in, most of the time I'm not going to watch it. So I had trouble finding 3 movies that I've actually seen all the way through and then could form a cohesive opinion about I didn't really like that or I didn't really get it. I think the word hate is a strong word. So when we titled this episode
That's true.
To go out this weekend, we might have to think of an alternate title.
Yeah, hate's a very strong word.
Yes, because I don't hate these movies I'm listing, but I don't get why everyone else likes them so much.
Well, and also I was thinking about as I was making my choices, I'm a very opinionated person.
Mm-hmm.
Hold your shock.
I am just blown away.
Everyone listening to this is like, what?
News alert! Breaking news. Ashby Brame is very opinionated. More at 11.
And so, more at 11. So I was really struggling to find a movie that I had watched all the way through and still held the opinion that I did not like it, because what will often happen is I will end up walking into a room where someone is watching a movie, or will catch glimpses of a movie on a TV channel that I'm flipping through, and we'll see certain scenes, and then we'll be like, nope, not for me, not watching it, no thank you, not interested. And so, to be fair, maybe to those movies, I should probably watch the full thing before I make an opinionated statement about whether or not I like it or not, or whether or not it's worth my time or a bad movie or whatever. But
absolutely.
I did finally, after much consideration, pick 3 movies that I have seen from start to finish that I just never care to watch again. I'll say it that way. I feel like that's fair.
I think that's a fair statement. I've actually, while we're talking right now, I'm scrolling through. I have 3 movies in mind, but excuse me. I have 3 movies in mind, but I'm just going through this list, making sure maybe there's like a better option. I'm going through this list of best movies of all time or most popular movies of all time. And there's a lot of these movies that are on this list that I haven't seen. So, I mean, it would be unfair. And there's some that I haven't seen, but I'm also not interested in seeing.
Correct.
Like a movie like Avatar.
Right.
Is like one of the highest grossing box office movies of all time.
Right.
People rave about it, love it. I have no interest in seeing it.
Yeah.
Like a movie like Inception.
Never seen Inception.
Never seen Inception. I mean, and I love Christopher Nolan's work on the Dark Knight trilogy. I think he's done a fantastic job. I know, and I love Joseph Gordon-Levitt. I think he's fantastic. But for some reason, every time I've tried to force myself to sit down and watch an Inception, it's like, no, I'd rather just do something else.
Right. Yeah, I feel like there are movies that I will probably never see because I can get a good grasp from a trailer whether or not that's a movie that is going to appeal to me. And so, like, everyone raved about The Wolf of Wall Street, and I was like, nothing about that movie interests me.
Nope.
I love Leonardo DiCaprio.
And I think that's okay, though. Like, if we've discussed this if we all had the same opinions and the same taste,
right?
Then our Hollywood would be very boring. I mean, like, if everything was just the same, like, cultivated the one audience, and
right, then
you don't get this great diversity of different movies and genres and styles and stuff. I mean, I think there is something out there for everybody. I fully believe that. So not every movie has to be universally loved, but today we're going to be talking about some movies that feel like they're universally loved by everyone except for us.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Ashby, would you like to go first?
Yes.
Okay.
I would love to go first.
Please do.
So, I was born in 1988, and so by the time I was born and old enough to be sort of flipping through the channels of my TV, this movie had already made it into syndication, so you could pretty easily find it, on TBS or CBS or TNT or, wherever it was being run. And I remember being at one of my best friend's houses. He lived next door to me, and he and I would play a lot because we live right next to each other. And his mom always had like iced Freezy Pops in the freezer in the garage.
Nice.
And so on days when we couldn't play outside because it was raining or it was too hot or whatever, his mom would let us pick something to watch on TV. And honestly, they might have also had it on VHS. I don't know. But I distinctly remember being in his living room, sitting down, and we watched E.T. And
Phone Home.
Yes. And I know we watched it from start to finish because I remember the scene at the end where the bikes fly or whatever. And I remember Drew Barrymore being a little kid. And I remember, like, the government agents, I guess. So, like, I know I watched it all the way through. But to be fair, I haven't gone back and watched it as an adult. But I remember this movie freaking me out. I did not like how wrinkly he was. I didn't like how long his fingers were. I didn't understand how it was supposed to be a movie for kids or feel good or like a cute story. I probably was too young to really understand the plot. I just remember not liking it. And as a kid, like sometimes reactions like that are visceral really stick with you. Mm-hmm. And so even though I know logically that I could probably watch it now as an adult and might actually like it and form a different opinion, it's just been one of those movies through the decades that stuck with me that like I don't like it and I don't have any interest in it and I don't want to watch it. And I feel like everyone loves E.T.
So I'll let you in on a little secret here. I've never seen E.T.
Oh my God.
I've never seen it. I get the pop culture references. And that's the big thing about a lot of these movies. Like we were talking about Good Will Hunting earlier. Because Kyle wanted to put that on the schedule a couple years ago. And I was like, I've never seen it. He's like, what, you've never seen it? But I get the cultural references behind that movie. You know, I was even telling Ashby, hey, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. And like I know that's from that movie.
Yes.
I know E.T. Phone Home. I know the Reese's Pieces, bit with E.T. I get that, but I've never seen that movie all the way through, or if any bits and pieces of it, other than like whatever's been shown, like in other movies where they're watching E.T.
Correct.
So like I can't give you like any kind of rebuttal behind, hey, your opinion's wrong, or I 100% agree with you because I've never had the desire to watch E.T. I mean,
there you go.
Love Drew Barrymore. But.
Yeah, she was super cute in it. I mean, I understand now that I've seen it. I've seen bits and pieces of it as an adult. Like you said, if I'm watching a documentary about, movies or whatever, they'll often show either their fingers touching or the scene where where Drew Barrymore as a little kid sees E.T. for the first time and like screams. Or they'll show the bikes flying over the forest or whatever.
Yep, get all that. 100%.
Yeah, right. And so I get that like it had these like funny, cute, feel good moments, but I don't know. I didn't. He freaked me out when I was little. I can't do it.
Don't blame you.
Can't do it.
Don't blame me one bit. So how I kind of react to the Gremlins.
Yes. They
freaked me out as a kid.
Yes.
So I did watch those. Anyway, so my number one on my list here. So let's travel back in time just a little bit to, I believe, 2018.
Okay.
And our friend Tim Hutchison, friend of the podcast here, was celebrating a birthday. His birthday's around Memorial Day weekend, so he's got another one coming up. So around Memorial Day, guys, wish our buddy Tim a happy birthday. We'll make sure we do that on the pod. But for his birthday that year, we all went to Buffalo Wild Wings, and we were just going to come back to my house and watch a movie as a group. Something low key. I think the year before we went to Con Key and we did an escape room, and so like next year was like, let's do something low key this year. This is number 31 I think for him. Last year, the year before was year 30. He had to make a big deal about year 30.
That's fair.
But 31. Let's just low key. We're adults now. Let's go out to nice little dinner. Little movie, some hang time, whatever. So we went to Buffalo Wild Wings, hung out there, and then we all traveled back here to the place where we record our podcast here. And we sat down, and we were trying to figure out what to watch, and he said, well, I've never seen Raiders of the Lost Ark. And I was like, I've never seen that either. So went and I actually bought it on like Amazon or Apple or something, rented it or something. And we watched Raiders of the Lost Ark, and everyone loves Indiana Jones. It's a classic. Harrison Ford, he's an archaeologist with the whip and the hat and, the rolling ball thingy and, Nazis and stuff. And I was bored to death.
Yeah,
I watched it and I was like, oh my gosh.
I get that.
I didn't enjoy it.
I've seen literally every Indiana Jones movie, but I feel like my love for Harrison Ford pulls me through it,
I think I was more excited about the fact that I recognized the rival archaeologist in there, played by Paul Freeman, as Ivan Ooze from the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie.
Only you.
Only me would make that connection there. Okay. Like, hey, there's Ivan Ooze, and there was like crickets. Like what? But yeah, everyone loves that movie, and I'm like, okay.
But did you like is that just not your kind of movie? Like, did you like National Treasure?
I love National Treasure.
So it's
like,
not
I want to do an episode on National Treasure and National Treasures 2, Book of Secrets, and I cannot wait for National Treasures 3, if it ever comes out, to come out.
Yes.
Love like the idea of hidden treasure and, a good, well-crafted story, and Nicolas Cage doing Nicolas Cage things.
100%.
But for some reason, and I don't know if it's just a product of its time, like it's a movie from 1981.
Right, pacing was different back then.
It's a different kind of movie. I don't know if that didn't just appeal to me, like it was just a, maybe it was shot differently, maybe, I don't know. It's just, I watched it and did not like it.
Okay. Had you seen an Indiana Jones film at all before then? And have you tried since then to watch an Indiana Jones film that's not Raiders of the Lost Ark?
No.
Okay. Interesting.
I'm willing to. I mean, and that's one of my life things.
So if I select one for you.
If you were to give me what there's the fourth one that has Shia LaBeouf in it, not that one, Crystal of the something. But there's also
the Crystal Skull.
Yeah, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Yeah.
There's also The Last Crusade and the what's the second one?
It's been so long. I own all of them, so I could let you borrow them. But I feel like
the Temple of Doom.
Yes, so the Temple of Doom is really good.
Okay.
Raiders of the Lost Ark maybe was not a good place to start.
Even though it's the first one.
Correct. It's like Star Wars, Like sometimes the order is not the
fair.
order.
Okay.
Or like The Witcher, the way that The Witcher episodes came out, that's not ideally how you want to watch them.
Okay.
It's complicated.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So, Raiders of the Lost Ark, my first selection.
Okay.
Willing to give the Indiana Jones the franchise another try.
Okay.
But was not impressed with my one viewing of Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Interesting. Okay. So, my second pick came out when I was in high school, but I don't remember it becoming a cultural phenomenon until I was in early college. And it was kind of like Mean Girls. At some point, I realized I had missed a step, and everyone was quoting something around me that I had no point of reference for. And so this is Napoleon Dynamite. And I understand that it's a very quotable movie. I get it.
Yes. I got quotes on the tip of my tongue right now.
Yes. And they're funny. I
called you a delicious bass.
I get that. And on top of it being quotable, I was told in college multiple times by strangers that I look like the girl with the ponytail in the caboodle.
Are you drinking 1% milk because you think you're fat? Because you're not. You could be drinking whole milk if you wanted to. Open up with that line, gentlemen. That's the best pickup line of all time.
You could be drinking whole milk if you wanted to.
You could be drinking whole milk if you wanted to.
Yeah, she's like, I'm selling bracelets?
Yeah, bracelets or something. Yeah, to like fund something.
So, okay.
I don't even know the story that well. I just know I love watching the movie, but you don't.
Okay, so here's the thing. So at some point in college, I realized that people were quoting this movie, and that every time I asked someone what it was from, they were like, Napoleon Dynamite. Like, how have you never seen it? It's amazing. And so probably my freshman or sophomore year of college, I was like, okay, let me learn myself something. And I sat down and I watched Napoleon Dynamite from start to finish.
Did you watch the end credit scene? Because I didn't know there was an end credit scene until like 2 years ago.
Probably not.
Okay.
Probably not.
Yeah, his it might have been Pedro's wedding. Someone's wedding. Okay. Someone getting married in the end credit scene. I don't know who it is, but
interesting. Okay.
We'll look it up later.
So anyway, so I watched it, and all the quotes were in there that, people had been quoting to me, and there were moments that I laughed, but for the most part, after the movie was over, I was just kind of like, okay, first of all, this didn't really have a beginning, and it certainly didn't really have an end. And I feel like I just wasted 2 hours of my life. Like, that was a movie about nothing. Nothing.
Yes,
there was no plot.
There was no stakes. There was
nothing.
Nothing
happened. There were no stakes. There was no antagonist, really. And just a bunch of, like, average protagonists.
I would say Hilary Duff's sister was a great antagonist.
I just don't get it. I don't get it. I don't understand to this day.
Here's the thing. I'm not going to hold that against you, honestly, because Napoleon Dynamite's one of those things where either it's your cup of tea or it's not. Like it's like either you like coffee or you don't like coffee.
Correct.
Okay? I don't like coffee. No matter how many times I try coffee in different ways, I don't like coffee. I love
coffee in every way.
You like coffee. You love
intravenously,
coffee. Yes.
Via cup, via...
via osmosis.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
In a bath.
Yeah, in a bath. Okay, we're getting weird. Okay.
Intravenous wasn't
but
weird.
That's
but
kind of like Napoleon Dynamite in a way. Like,
Yes.
either you or you know it's stupid. You know there's no plot. There's no point to it. It's just like, it's what I like to call it, just a popcorn movie. Where it's like the points and whose line is anyway.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. You know, the points don't matter.
That's right.
You know, whatever.
Everything's made up.
Everything's made up. But you're just there because the little scenes do something for you.
Yes.
You know, the awkward scenes between Napoleon and Pedro.
Right.
You know,
Right.
remind you of the awkward scenes between you and your new friends or whatever.
Right.
Or the budding romance between Napoleon and the girl whose name escapes me off the top of my head.
Can't remember.
But like, that reminds you of, you know, we've all been awkward. Or Napoleon dancing, you know, you find that hilarious. Or you find the little quotes, you know, the uncle who's still living in his high school glory days. You know, if coach would have put me in the fourth quarter, we'd have won state. I'd have gone to the NFL. We would have had a whole new life. I could throw a football a quarter mile over those mountains over there. Throws a steak at it, Napoleon. We just, little stupid things like that.
Oh
Either
goodness.
you love it or you don't get it. So you don't get it. There's nothing wrong with that.
I don't get it. It's
Well,
It's okay.
when we do our Napoleon Dynamite episode, Kyle, I don't know if Kyle likes Napoleon Dynamite or not either. I feel like he's one or the other, obviously.
I mean, I'd be happy to cosplay as Deb, but I have nothing to add to that particular episode.
Look, so
I'll just sit there with my caboodle. And...
when me and Ruth Ann were dating, you were friends with Ruth Ann in high school. You remember the beginning of that relationship.
Yes.
Me and her bonded over that movie.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Her mom made me a Vote for Pedro shirt.
That's funny. Oh my goodness.
I don't know if I still have it. It doesn't fit anymore, obviously. But yeah, a Vote for Pedro shirt. Like, before they actually started making them, she made one for me because we loved that movie so much. So, anyway, speaking of movies that you just don't get.
Okay. Okay.
So I think it was sometime last year, and a friend of ours, mine and Kyle, this is like right before you came along to be our permanent third host.
Okay.
And now permanent just person on the
Best
podcast.
host.
Yes.
Permanent
yes.
best host.
No, permanent person in our lives now.
Okay.
Jordan Edgerton. I don't know if you know Jordan. He married Ashley Tart, who's my age. He's a fan of the podcast. And he's really surprised me a little bit. Like, he loves the Star Wars and the Marvel stuff. He loves superhero stuff. Big sports fan. I mean, he's really into a lot of stuff we're into, and it really kind of surprised me a little bit. You know, he really enjoyed getting to know Jordan a little bit at church, and but he brought up to me and Kyle, was like, "Hey, you know, we got it might have even been like 2 years ago. I don't know, right before we started, like, The Matrix." 20-year anniversary, you know, came out in 1999, was, you know, so 20 years would have been in 2019 when we got started. I'd love to be on the Matrix podcast when y'all do the Matrix.
Okay.
And it's like, okay, here's the thing about that.
Yikes.
What do you mean when we do the Matrix podcast? Because me and Kyle both were like, we're not really into the Matrix.
Right. We'll just let Jordan come in and, like, do a one-man guest star, because I also have only ever seen the first Matrix. And I did not get it.
Like, so this is another one of those, like, story time moments where, okay, so me and Ruth Ann had been dating for about 2-3 months at this point.
Okay.
And I was working at the Selma pool. And our friend Ryan Fitzgerald was holding a Matrix marathon at his house.
I was about to say, Ryan seems like the kind of person who would be super into the Matrix.
He really enjoyed the Matrix, I feel like. And he invited, you know, me and Ruth Ann, and I had to work. But I was going to come over afterwards. And I came over afterwards, and we started the Matrix marathon. And I started watching the Matrix with all of them. And I couldn't stay for the second and third parts of the film because I didn't get it. Like, I didn't like it. It was like,
wasn't clicking.
It seems like it'd be my kind of movie. It has Keanu Reeves in it, Lawrence Fishburne, Hugo Weaving, my goodness. Carrie Ann Moss was in there. I mean, dystopian future. Humanity's unknowingly trapped inside a simulated reality. I mean, it sounds like I would love something like this, because one of my favorite seasons of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was season 4 when they did the framework.
Yes.
And I loved that. I thought it was so good. But when I watched The Matrix back in 2005, and then when I watched The Matrix 2 and The Matrix Reloaded, and there's even a Matrix 4 coming out some point in the next couple of years, I know it won Academy Awards, but I got nothing for you. I mean, I don't get it. I'm sorry. Like, it bored me to death. I was not excited about this movie. I don't want to watch any more of them. I don't know. I don't know what to say. I mean,
no, I 100% feel you on this.
So I mean, we're in it. So if you like The Matrix, drop us a note and tell us why. Like, because I think all three of us on the podcast here, me, Ashby, and Kyle, are very meh on The Matrix. And if there's something I'm missing that, maybe I
normally love, like you're saying, I love those like through the looking glass kind of movies. I was actually just listening to a podcast recently where they were covering, like the world's biggest conspiracy theories. Yeah. And the whole, like, we're all living in a simulation is one of the biggest global conspiracy theories. And The Matrix was one of the first movies to really, like, popularize that in pop culture. So there were sci-fi authors for decades writing about the idea that we might all be living in a simulation, but it wasn't until The Matrix came out that, like, that idea got really, like, the idea of being, like, is it, like, red-pilled or something?
Yeah, red pill or blue pill, yeah.
Right. And so, they were talking about The Matrix as the first time that a lot of people had a concept of what the idea of living in a simulation might look like.
Yeah.
And so when you talk about that conspiracy theory now, everyone's like, oh, like The Matrix, And I remember going to see The Matrix in theaters with someone who was super into it. Like, and so you would think that enthusiasm, if nothing else, would like carry me. And I just remember watching it and being like, this is weird.
Yeah.
Like, this is really weird. And some of it's like borderline gross. Like, there's a lot of body dysphoria things happening. And I was not a fan.
No, not a fan.
I don't get it.
Hit us up, listeners, if you're a fan of The Matrix, and
let us know.
If y'all want to do a Matrix episode,
yes,
we might have just a guest host week in general where y'all can do a Matrix episode if that's popular enough amongst our listeners. I mean, we're okay taking a vacation.
That's right. We'll let you guys.
Yeah, I'll let you into my house and we'll let you do the. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
So just hit us up and let us know. All right, so we're down to our last one, and I told you. I know you're up next, but I'm just going to go ahead and prepare you. You're going to be really, like, I hope you're done with your pink drink before we get to my because I feel like you're going to throw it at me.
Okay.
And
is this going to be the episode we flip the table?
It might be the episode where we flip the table and you give me a black eye. Yes.
Woo. Okay.
Yes. And when Kyle gets back, what happened? Oh, I fell down the stairs. I ran into the door. Don't worry about it.
Eric fell down the stairs. Yes. He fell down the stairs 10 times.
10 times, yes. But go ahead, because I know what your number 3 is.
Okay.
Hit me with it.
So here we go. This is probably the most controversial one that I'll talk about, so I left it for last. I have seen this movie more than once. So when you write angry fan letters into me, understand that I have given it more than one opportunity, okay? And I understand also that not every single person's comedy hits for every single person. Like, there are comedians that, there are some Will Ferrell movies I like and some I don't. And, I think we've talked about before with comedy, like, one person's comedic actor isn't another person's comedic actor, right? Okay. So
they're not all Robin Williams.
Correct. So I'm going to preface that. And I'm going to say that I do not enjoy watching 50 First Dates.
It hurts. Do you just have a problem with Drew Barrymore? This is the second time she's appeared on your list today.
I did not think of that until just now. No, I love Drew Barrymore. She was amazing in was it Riding in Cars with Boys?
Yes.
She was fantastic in that. I like a lot of her movies.
Yes.
So it has nothing to do with Drew Barrymore. And I'm not a big Adam Sandler hater. Like, there are some of his movies that I do not enjoy, and there are some of his movies that I find him really funny in. Right. So, Sean Astin is the one redeeming thing in this movie to me. He's delightful as the brother. Doug is so funny. And I really love one of the only times in this movie that I actually laughed is when they're like, "What are you wearing?" And he's like, "It's called fashion, sweetie. Look it up."
It's not juice. It's a sports shake.
He's like wearing that mesh
Get off the juice. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So, it's just one, and I cannot explain what it is, but I just don't find this movie, like, the concept sounds more terrifying to me than heartwarming. Like, the idea that she has this disease that she consistently can't remember people in her life that are important to her. Like, the whole thing just doesn't, the idea that it's a comedy, and I'm not a fan.
It's one of those movies that, okay, so it's 16 years old. It came out in 2005. It's one that, to me, it's like the last good Adam Sandler movie. Like, it was that movie, then Click, and then beyond that, like, it went to, like, Bedtime Stories and Just Go For It, and
right.
like the movie quality of movies started going down. So this is like the last hurrah for Adam Sandler, and it's a rom-com. There are some parts of that movie that are just gross to me. The walrus. That's one animal whose name I can't pronounce. Just barfing on his assistant. We're not really, like, they point out, we're not really sure, the gender of the assistant. They make references both ways, and that's kind of a big contention point. It's one of those movies where I don't think it would be made today.
Correct.
Like, especially the idea of using short-term memory loss as a comedic crutch.
Right.
Like, to have hijinks and shenanigans built around it. And it ends up, to me, being, he falls in love with her. He has to force her to fall in love with him every day. And that's kind of sweet. But I don't know. Right. It's one of those movies, like, 10 years later, I think people would have thought differently about.
Well, and not to pile on to Adam Sandler, because it's not his fault, but this movie is right up there with Big Daddy for me, where it's like actual things that in the real world would be really upsetting, horrifying situations illegal, that are, like, packaged sweetly into a romantic comedy or a comedy. Big Daddy's just a comedy.
Yeah.
And so, like, I've tried to watch both those movies multiple times, and, like, every time someone is watching Big Daddy around me and I watch certain scenes, I'm just like, this is horrific. This is not funny. Like, nothing about this is funny. Like, and then I'm the buzzkill in the room that's like, this is not okay.
to reference episode we're recording later, you're the Britta in the room.
100%. Yeah.
She makes
Yeah.
We'll talk about
like,
Britta
it's
later.
Fictional, Ashby. It's not real. It's just meant to be funny.
Okay. And here's the thing. I can understand why you may have hang-ups about the movie. I think it's just my man crush on Drew Barrymore. Like, I've always had a crush on her. Like, that is a redeeming quality.
She's hot.
I enjoy the Hawaiian settings. I enjoy the Beach Boys soundtrack. I enjoy Doug and his dad, played by Sean Hunter's dad, Blake. Oh my goodness, he Chet Hunter in Boy Meets World. What's his name? Blake something. He's also the voice of Slinky the dog now. It's gonna bother me, but yeah, I mean, and there's a lot of things I enjoy about that movie, but I can understand why you don't like it.
Are you talking about Dan Aykroyd?
Dan Aykroyd's in that movie, yeah.
Oh, okay.
He's the head, the memory doctor.
Right.
Hang on one second.
Who are you? So who's the?
Go down to cast.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah. Blake Clark.
Okay. Yeah. Gotcha.
Blake Clark's who I'm looking for. Yeah, there's some good cameos in that movie. I mean, Dan Aykroyd's in there. He Kevin James makes a brief cameo
because it's a
like
Adam
a little
Sandler
flashback.
movie,
Yeah,
of course.
I mean, just Henry Roth.
Rob Schneider again.
Henry Roth.
Yes.
Rob Schneider is the always high surfer guy who has a glass eye, and he's like, believe it or not, this is my good eye. I mean, just. I love how they poke fun at Happy Gilmore whenever the kid goes out there and swings, and Adam Sandler the guy does the Happy Gilmore swing, and Adam Sandler's like, that is the stupidest looking swing I've ever seen in my entire life. Just nice little references there, but I understand why you may not enjoy that. So it's a good pick for your list, I think. Now, because I've been understanding.
Okay.
Now you have 2 movies on your list I've really enjoyed. Now, so far, you've really resonated with my list. You're like, yeah, I don't understand, the Matrix.
I'm doing some deep breathing
I don't
exercises.
understand, you were understanding with Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Right, even though I love Harrison Ford. It's okay. It's okay. Everything's fine. I'm just woo-saw.
In the mid-2000s, here's where my number 3 story starts. In the mid-2000s, my brother was really into a particular film franchise. We had the DVD sets. We watched them during the summer. At least he did. I watched them once. The series had a prequel series that came out later in the late to mid-2000s. And I watched them in theaters. Every single one of them. Just to prove a point. Your look on your face is not good.
I'm trying to be calm. I'm just...
If you hear a chair squeaking, it's me sliding a
I'm
little
just
further
waiting.
away from Ashby. Ashby, my friend.
Okay.
My wonderful podcasting co-host.
Yep.
All the adjectives in the world to describe you. You're so wonderful. But I honestly do not understand or like the Lord of the Rings.
No!
trilogy.
Oh, no!
If I'm being completely honest, if I can speak
How?
if I can speak my truth,
How?
if I can speak my truth, I feel like I'm in a therapy session now.
We're going to need a mediator in a second.
We are. Let's get Kyle back on the phone here. They bore me.
No, there's a...
They bore me. And I don't understand why, because it doesn't make sense why they bore me.
It's just...
You're not even speaking English anymore.
It doesn't... What? It's a...
This was the... when I thought of this category, I had to think of the other two, really hard. This one was the first entry on my list.
I don't have words.
I know.
I feel...
I might be doing this podcast solo until Kyle gets back.
I'm feeling betrayal, sorrow, deep sorrow, and...
Here's the thing.
I've read that I did something wrong.
I read The Hobbit in 1936. No.
When it came out!
No, but I've read the books. The books are great.
Okay.
But for some reason...
I really don't get it.
But for some reason, I watch those movies and I am just taken out for some reason. I don't understand. I cannot get connected to the movies.
I honestly cannot comprehend, because if anything, the books should be what are hard to get through. I've read The Hobbit and every single book in the trilogy, and I've read all the appendices, and I comprehend how difficult that is. And Tolkien was a very, laborious writer. You have to do a lot of, he could have told the story in a much more shorter and succinct way, and he didn't. And so I can understand why someone would go see Lord of the Rings and immediately feel like they could read the book and then try to read the book and just be like, nope, this is not working for me. But for the opposite to be true makes no sense, because you're not having to put any work into watching it like you would into reading it. Watching it should suck you in visually. It's a beautiful color palette.
I will say
it's well casted.
I will say it's a beautiful movie in terms of visually.
How are you bored? There's something happening every second.
I'm not into
and
it.
it's a deep world. There's culture, there's language and religion and music and poetry and folklore. I don't understand. I don't understand. I don't get it. This makes no sense.
No, it doesn't.
No sense.
No. All I know is when I watched those movies with my brother in the summer, he was a big Two Towers fan, loved the original Fellowship of the Ring, he loved the Return of the King. Bored to death. I went to the movies with some friends to watch all 3 of them because that's what I did. I went to the movies, sat through them, slogged through 3 hours.
Now, I can understand how, like, the Hobbit trilogy,
Yeah.
even I was like, I had to really try to get through those. There were some, like, what moments, but for the most part, the Hobbit trilogy, it was like, it was sort of the opposite where, you know, for the Lord of the Rings trilogy, each book was a movie, right? And I felt like each book could have been 3 movies.
Right.
Where the Hobbit, that one book could have been 1 movie, and they made it 3 movies.
They stretched it out.
And I was like, this is not.
Money.
And then Peter Jackson ended up writing what was basically his own fan fiction at the end of the Hobbit trilogy, where what all the characters kind of go off to do is not what happens in the books to a certain extent. Like, there's a backstory with Legolas that he kind of made up a little bit, and then Turiel isn't even a character in The Hobbit. He just added her, like a Mary Sue, like directly into anyway, I could go on. I'm not. So I get that you wouldn't like the Hobbit movies, but the 3 original Lord of the Rings movies were like poetic cinema. They won awards. They won Oscars. I'm just so disappointed.
Yeah. Lincoln also won Oscars, and I didn't like it either. So
I don't know if our friendship will get past this. I'm
no.
gonna have to really give this a lot of thought.
Here is the only redeeming thing I can say to maybe fix our budding friendship here, because it is budding. But if you were to host a Lord of the Ring viewing night, not all 3 at one time, but just 1 movie at a time, I would be willing to give it another try.
Okay.
That is how far I'm willing to.
Okay.
And then give you a fair assessment.
Okay.
15, 16 years after I saw the original. And see if my opinion has changed. Because from my memory,
I'm wondering if I made you watch it with cast commentary, if that would help. Because it's...
That might be more distracting.
Well, no, because you've already seen it, so you know what's going to happen for the most part.
I mean, it's been 16 years, so...
And the commentary...
Give me a fresh coat.
...is hysterical. Yeah. I mean, either way, you're going to get it with me commentary.
Well, that's fine. Maybe
that'll help.
Maybe just you commentary to begin
walk you
with.
through each scene. This is why you should like what's happening on the screen right now, Eric. Here's the backstory. Here's what happened in the book.
You sound like me whenever we're watching Community.
Yes, 100%.
So here's the backstory here. Chevy Chase actually wasn't in this episode because he walked off set. Anyway, I would be willing to do that if you were to host a Lord of the Rings thing this summer. Invite Kyle and Erica and Baby Sky.
Okay.
If Baby Sky can go out at that point. Invite me.
Okay.
You know.
Okay.
We order Chinese or sushi.
Sushi.
You know, or both.
Or both.
Whatever.
Yeah.
I am willing to go through that.
Okay.
And then tell you at the end, sorry.
Okay.
Or you've changed my mind.
We would have to plan out a few different viewings because I have the director's cut Blu-ray, so each movie's 4 hours.
The directed, extended cut with personalized commentary to Ashby Brain.
Correct. Yes.
Of up to 6 words.
So it would actually take 12
Ashby,
hours to
you're
watch
now Gimli.
all of them.
I don't know who Gimli is. All right.
Now I'm sad again.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so on that note, that's our list, listeners. We didn't do social media for this week.
I did a little post, but no one commented.
Yeah, because we Kyle usually handles some of our social media stuff during the week. Me and Ashby are trying to pick up the pieces a little bit. We're getting better at it.
We're trying.
We're trying.
We're getting there, but
but if you listen to this episode, and we will drop something on social media the day this episode comes out, and you agree or disagree with our picks, or you have some picks of your own, let us know in the comments on Facebook or in Twitter or on Instagram, and let us know what some of the movies that you don't really like, even though everyone else around you seems to love them.
Yeah, and maybe if it gets really controversial, we'll do a
sequel series or like a response,
or we'll read we'll do a social media shout out for this episode and a future episode.
Absolutely,
so everyone's voice gets heard.
That's right. So we're gonna stop us here before Ashby gets more heartbroken. Here's the really cool thing about this episode, and this is something that with Kyle being out, there's 3 of us, we tend to all be really long-winded.
True.
Because we all are very opinionated. But when you take one of us out of the equation, the episode length goes down. This episode will be under 50 minutes.
Nice.
It'll be our shortest episode in a long time because we got right to the point.
That's right.
We talked about our stuff.
That's right.
And it's just a good little side effect. For some of you who I know, those of you who listen, I wouldn't say religiously, but you listen and you're passionate about your listening and whatever. We do have some long episodes sometimes.
Yeah.
This is a nice little, little short one for you. Maybe 2 trips in the car. On the way to work and on the way home, you listen to the whole episode.
There you go.
If you have a long commute, it could just be a one on the way there commute episode. So, but we want to thank Kyle Whitley, our BFF.
Yes.
Our mediator, hopefully one day for Lord of the Rings.
Our intrepid tech guy.
Yep.
Who we had to call panicking.
Who we had to call because we could not get the system to work. It turns out, but ladies and gentlemen, if you turn the power strip on, things tend to work.
It turns out technology needs power.
Yes. We're writing this down. We're learning.
Yes. We have a sticky note now that says turn on power strip.
Turn on everything. So we miss you, Kyle, and can't wait for you to join us. And also a big thank you to Ricky Loss for all of his contributions to our podcast. We hope that you enjoyed our discussion as much as I did and as much as Ashby just hated the last part of it.
Exactly. Yeah, up until the end.
And we hope that you're as pumped for the rest of this journey into pop culture nostalgia and all the things that we enjoy next week. Oh, my goodness, next week.
I'm going to let Eric just take this away. I'm so happy for you, bud. So excited for you.
I might cry.
Just get emotional. Then you'll make me emotional.
It's going to be so cool. Cool. We're doing community. Woo!
You haven't been as excited about something since I joined and said that I also watched Psych, so you could finally have a Psych episode.
Yes. We're doing community, and not only are we doing community, we are teaming up.
Yes, crossover.
Yeah, we're doing a crossover episode. We are crossing over. Ashby, tell us about our crossover episode next week.
So to make a long story short, and we'll get into it in next week's episode, but I have a friend who also has a podcast that she and some of her friends are just starting up, and it's going to be a Teen Wolf rewatch podcast. So I'm really into the MTV TV show Teen Wolf, not the movie with Michael J. Fox. And she knows that I have a podcast, and so she reached out to me and she said, do you guys want to go in together and you can guest host on an episode that we're doing for an episode of one of the first season rewatches of Teen Wolf, and then maybe we'll find something that we all like that we can talk about on your podcast. And so I basically, was kind of talking about what we would talk about for us, and one of the people for her podcast, one of her hosts, has worked in LA as a production assistant and as a writer, and he's done a bunch of different things. And she said, well, did you know that Will worked on season 1 of Community? And I was like, what? So we are going to have the Return to Beacon Hills podcast host on to discuss Eric's favorite TV show, Community.
I'm so excited. I have so many questions for Will. Make sure you check out the Return to Beacon Hills on their social media account. We're going to give them shout outs next week, but let's go ahead and give them a little shout out. I believe it's at RTBH Podcast.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes. And you can find them on...
They're on Twitter.
Twitter, Instagram, Tumblr.
Ooh.
And somewhere else. But you'll be able to find them anywhere you listen to podcasts if you look them up. We're going to, tag them and everything, do a big shout out. They'll talk about their channels on the community episode. And then even if you're not super into Teen Wolf, we will let you know, and their social media handles will also let you know when I end up guest starring on their episode. I believe I'm doing... I can't remember if it's episode
6,
8 or 9. It's a later episode in the season. And of course it's season 1, so there's only like 11 or 12 episodes. I might have done episode 11, like the one right before the finale.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yes, we're going to be doing a crossover. They're going to be in with us, then I'm going to be in with them. And we're really excited because this finally gives Eric the chance to talk about Community, which Kyle and I cannot do with him. So...
I'm so excited. So next week we are talking about Community. Definitely will be hyping that episode up. We're super excited for that and super excited to do a crossover episode. And hope this leads to more crossovers down the line, not just with the Return to Beacon Hills podcast, maybe some future other podcasting partners as well. Like, we love the idea of collaboration, because the idea of building this podcast and like building the audience stuff, there's like a billion podcasts out there. You're going to have to support and lean on each other. And I'm hoping this is the start of, just something really awesome where we can support them and they can support us and vice versa. So.
Absolutely.
So that's next week. Folks, we appreciate you joining us today. Until next time, not all those who wander are lost, Ashby.
Apparently you're lost.
Stay as
about
cool.
how much you should love Lord of the Rings. But okay.
I did just pull up a Lord of the Rings quote just for you.
How dare you?
For the tag.
How dare you put J.R. Tolkien's words in your mouth?
Look, Ashby, there's some good in this world, Mr. Frodo, and it's worth fighting for.
I'm so mad at you.
It's the job that's never started as takes longest to finish.
Please stop.
Faithless is he that says farewell when the road darkens, and the road is darkening now.
You don't even know what you're talking about.
Stay as cool as the other side of the pillow.
Bye.
And we'll see you next week. What the what?
I'm gonna go kill Eric now. Thanks for tuning in.
Bye.